A lot of people, their initial response to the pandemic was, oh, this is deflationary, right? This means people are not going to have demand for things because they're staying at home. Well, that's true. A lot of people stayed at home, and so they didn't buy as much, airline tickets or stay in hotels, but they had no problem shopping on Amazon. And so it wasn't that demand stopped during the pandemic. It just transferred money that consumers weren't spending traveling. They simply spent it on other things. And a lot of people, unfortunately, because of our politicians, a lot of people ended up with more money being unemployed than they had when they actually had jobs. And that was because the government's unemployment benefits were so generous. You had people earning double, and in some cases triple, not working than what they earned when they actually had jobs. And so a lot of this money was spent. In addition, you had a lot of people who were told, hey, you don't have to pay your rent. You're not going to get evicted. So you had a lot of people that didn't spend money on rent, but now had extra money to buy other things. So there was a lot of spending going on during the pandemic. And a lot of that spending was on imports. That's why our trade deficit in goods is at an all-time record high. We are importing more goods than ever before. Our total trade deficit, when you count our surplus in services, is the highest it's been since 2008, just before the financial crisis. And I think within the next couple of months, we are going to break that record, which means, despite what Donald Trump promised as a candidate, the trade deficit is much worse as his presidency is coming to an end than it was when he inherited the economy from Obama. And in fact, the trade deficits were getting bigger even before the pandemic. They just accelerated faster after it, given the bubble nature of our economy and the fact that our manufacturing sector had continued to deteriorate on Trump's watch. And of course, it's going to get even worse now that Biden's there. And of course, it's both deficits. The budget deficits have exploded beyond anything. In fact, we don't have the final numbers yet, but I think it's possible that Donald Trump may have added more debt in 4 years than Obama did in 8. And if you recall, President Obama added more debt during his 8 years than all the presidents before him, from George Washington to George Bush. And then Obama comes in and adds as much. And now Trump has done that in half the time. And now we're heading into the Biden administration. So again, the point I'm making here is that the pandemic increased this demand, but also decreased supply. What happened during the pandemic and what is still happening? People didn't go to work. Factories shut down. Supply chains got bogged down because there was nothing being supplied. So as demand was coming up, supply was going down.
Before we continue, help us by smashing that YouTube like button and subscribe now to this channel. This shows the algorithm that you value the information, and it helps us spread this message. Sharing is caring. Please like and subscribe now. Thank you. And now, let's continue.
Governments around the world are printing all this money as factories are shutting down, as mines are shutting down. So we're getting less production of stuff, but we're getting a lot more production of money. Meanwhile, companies took on unprecedented amounts of debt. Governments took on unprecedented amounts of debt to do the wrong thing. What should governments have done during the pandemic? They should have cut government spending. They should have recognized that the economy was in trouble. And the way that you help an economy is by reducing the burden that government places on that economy. Government exacts a cost because government produces nothing. Government lives off the productivity of the private sector. Well, if the private sector is thriving, then the government can take some of those resources. But when the private sector is struggling with pressures like the pandemic, government needs to be smaller. Government needs to cut back and free up those resources back to the private sector so it can use them when it needs them. Instead, we did the opposite. We compounded the problems by increasing the toll exacted by government. And so we have more debt than ever before, more money creation than ever before, and we have created an economy that is more dependent on debt and money printing than ever before. That is why inflation is about to go through the roof. And again, think about it as a tax. The government is about to take most of what you have, not through taxation. Now, they're going to increase taxes. There's no question that the Biden administration is going to raise taxes. And if you think otherwise, you're delusional. There's going to be a big tax increase on corporations. There's going to be a big tax increase on higher earners in form of capital gains or ordinary income. But the main tax that is going to hit everybody is going to be inflation, especially if you're poor or middle class and you're working and all you have is your wages, and those wages are going to be dramatically diminished in value because of inflation. But probably more important to this audience, if you are a saver, if you are retired, or if you are nearing retirement, you are about to be decimated. Your entire life's savings is about to be taxed away by inflation. Government spending is going to go through the roof under Biden. It already went through the roof under Trump, so the roof is gone. It's just going to the sky. Because if Trump was as reckless with a Republican Congress, imagine how much more reckless Biden is going to be with the Democrats controlling Congress. Biden is inheriting a $3 or $4 trillion deficit. You think that deficit's coming down? No. And the Fed is going to have to print more and more money. The balance sheet is already, $7.5 trillion. It's going to go through 10 trillion this year. Maybe it could get to 15 or 20 trillion next year. The dollar is going to be destroyed. That's why the US dollar is already falling, despite the fact that all the experts predicted it would rise. It ended 2020 with a loss, and now it's poised for a much bigger loss. The price of gold rose and made a new high. It got above $2,000 an ounce, rising from $1,050 in the end of 2015. The stage is already set. Look at oil prices. They're at $53 a barrel now as I speak. Oil prices are going to shock people this year, probably by how high they can climb. Look at what's already happening to industrial metals. Look at nickel. Look at copper. Look at commodities. Look at soybeans in the teens. Everything is getting more expensive. And the Fed is still pretending that we don't have enough inflation as they're throwing gasoline on the fire.
What to do in such a situation? Inform yourself and keep your financial education strong. We from the Compact Group offer our loyal subscribers a free educational portal with first-hand monetary, financial, and economic knowledge. Enter our invite-only Insider Club by clicking the link below. You will get access to first-class information far earlier than the rest. We have prepared a special deal for all our members where you can access a giant pool of Robert Kiyosaki's financial wisdom for just $1. To find out more, simply click the link below and join our Insider Club absolutely free. But there is more you can and should do. Build up several streams of income. More and more people realize that they have to take their future in their own hands, but they don't know how and where to start. We from Compact offer our Insider Club members unique opportunities. Strengthen your financial muscle and get the edge. Click the link below. Become part of our free Insider Club. No financial obligations. But there's one important thing you have to know. You have to become active. So do it now. Become active and see you on the other side.